Awesome. Welcome back, Facebook friends, followers, to another Timely Table Talks with Terry. I'm excited to be here for another week. I've made a commitment to being consistent with broadcasting education, information, and understanding, in a commitment to a new strategic direction we're taking at Hardie Life to participate in the prevention education world. We're still providing direct coaching and mentorship support as always, but we really realize that there's an opportunity to amplify more information, knowledge, and understanding as it pertains to prevention education. So each week I invite guests who life we exist to provide and help to create safe spaces for ACEs and justice impacted youth, families, and adults. And we know that not one nonprofit is the solution to the wraparound support required to get those individuals towards healing, stability, and overall thriving in life. So you'll be able to hear from a couple of our guests here in regards to what they do, but I'll quickly share a little bit about what Timely Table Talks is about. So Timely Table Talks provides a platform for survivors and justice impacted individuals and professionals to engage in authentic discussion about lived experiences, social challenges, and pathways to healing. The program aims to amplify the voices that are often marginalized while equipping nonprofit professionals with leadership skills to better serve vulnerable adults and youth impacted by ACEs and the justice system. And I love it. I love it. We've been doing the work for almost 5 years at Hardie Life, and we don't do it alone. So today I have two guests with me. You're going to get to hear from now. We'll start with Dr. Mo, and also Courtney Hardie is here. Dr. Mo, we'll start with you. For those who have never met you before, just share with them who you are, how long you've been doing the work in the community in regards to Midwest Street Medicine, which is why I've invited you here. What compelled you to start to get involved in that work?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. So yes, Dr. Mo, I'm a professor at the university, and I'm also the executive director of Midwest Street Medicine. And I think what compelled me to get into the work was a time that I spent at Skid Row in LA and seeing what the unhoused population looked like. And what I was forever like, I need to give back in some way, but didn't know what that way was until I met Dr. Shannon, and we created Midwest Street Medicine.
Awesome. So when did Midwest Street Medicine start?
We are almost 2 years old.
And when did you go to Skid Row and have that experience?
Probably 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, it took a while before I brought that to fruition.
So you also mentioned that you're a professor at the university. How long have you been a professor there, and what is it that you instruct on?
Yep. So I've been teaching at USD for 12 years. I teach addiction counseling and prevention, and I teach a little bit in the psychology department as well.
Did you mention your hometown, or where you from? Are you from South Dakota?
Oh, I live in South Dakota. Yeah, I live in Volland, South Dakota.
And where were you born?
Madison, Nebraska.
Okay, I'm from Nebraska.
Nice.
There we go. Excellent. All right, thanks for being here. Courtney Hardie, who are you? Where are you from? What compelled you to get started with your organization, Hardie Arts? And then you'll see how there's a bridge here between these two organizations as well.
Yeah, well, thanks again. And I'm going to echo what Dr. Mo said. Thank you for allowing us to be on your Timely Table Talks. Yeah. I'm Courtney Hardie. I currently manage at Roots of Brazil, a restaurant downtown. And just this year started the process to get an LLC for my art business called Hardie Arts. The background behind the Hardie Arts, I got a fine arts degree from Augustana. I'm originally from Watertown, so not too far away. And I've been living here in Sioux Falls for 10 plus years. So being in the community, I've always had, my number one strength is empathy. And so what drew me to nonprofit work or the advocacy work that I do now is really led by my heart, as weird as, or as like cliche as that sounds, but I love people, and I love advocating for just humanity and humans being kind to other human beings. And so that's what led me to work with, I'm currently volunteering on 4 different nonprofit organizations. And so Midwest Street Medicine is one of those nonprofits that I actually added this year. I was asked to help out with their first ever fundraiser.
Love that. And we're going to hear about that fundraiser, which is super unique, different, and dynamic. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. So actually, one of the things too I like to do with the audience, in case there's a mystery of how we connected or when we connected. So I actually didn't prep you too for that, but would you share with them, how did we even meet? And then, and then you know, if there's a couple of things that you could just lift up in regards to the work of Hardie Life Coach, what are the couple of things that you kind of respect and admire about our approach to community and the work that we do? We'll start with Courtney.
Okay. I first met Terry at his MLK event, and it was also a sobriety anniversary for you last year at Sunny's Pizzeria.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I just struck a conversation with you, which led to me going to one of your presentations, and it kind of just grew into a developing relationship after that of feeding off of each other's wants for a better community and just what that looks like, and also challenging each other in the way that we think and the way that we operate in order to be better, present ourselves better for the community. And so we've just been doing that ever since. I mentor through Hardie Life Coach Foundation, and so I've got 2 little kiddos that we mentor together. And so it's been great to be able to see your process, what you do, and how it contributes.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And you're right, we do challenge one another. And that's one of my favorite things about human beings, period, in my life is I give people full permission to help me get better by showing me where I can improve. Like, I'm very clear on my strengths and my values, and most people are, but I find that there's an opportunity to model how to receive good feedback when people care enough to actually give it to you, and it helps you be better. Courtney's one of those people in my life, so thank you for that. Dr. Mo.
Okay, so Terry and I are in Leadership South Dakota together.
Yeah.
Jess asked me, how do you know Terry, Mo? And I said, I
don't
don't
really know.
have no idea.
It's like a whirlwind.
I feel like we met and we were just like, yeah, we're just going to hang out now and do things together. And we've had so many different roles with each other, whether it's been educating together or educating each other, whatever it looked like.
Yeah.
I'm also on the board of Hardie Life. And so obviously I wouldn't be involved with that if I didn't believe in the mission, right?
Yeah.
The things that we're doing, the way we're giving back, the way we're uplifting people, especially who have been touched by justice impacted and traumas and addiction and different things like that. So just another way to lift it up.
Right. Yeah, I know, Mo. You're right, too, because I couldn't really put a date and time.
Good. That's why I took a big breath. I'm like, wait, I don't know.
I know. And I think for me, my understanding is like, so I became a South Dakota ACEs and Resilience Fellow in the year 2018. I got trained on that. And then we continued to provide education throughout the state. And there was like another wave of opportunities for professionals to become ACE presenters. I think you were a part of one of those first waves of becoming an ACE presenter. So then we just became a part of like this database of ACEs informed professionals.
Right.
But I would always hear a lot about the great work you were doing down at UST. And then when I was think tanking with another board member one day about how we could enhance the quality of our board, your name came up. And I just reacted, dialed you up and said, hey, I think you're cool. I hear so much about you.
I mean,
When you joined my board of directors, and you said yes, and I was so thrilled to have you as a member of the board. And so since about 2018, we've been cross-pollinating throughout the entire state. And now, as you mentioned, we're part of Leadership South Dakota together, and we graduate on Friday. Woo! All fired up. Okay, so that's how we all met. That's how this all came together. And I really do feel very fortunate to have rock star friends doing rock star stuff. All right, so let's jump into your organizations particularly. We'll start with Midwest Street Medicine. Talk to the audience and us about when did it start? What does it do? Mm-hmm. Why is it important? And you can keep on going to it if you're like, how does it fill your cup, right? But for those who don't know about Midwest Street Medicine at all, please share with them the mission, the scope, the impact of the work.
Yeah, so I'll start with Midwest Street Medicine is a nonprofit organization, primarily of volunteers, and we go out on the streets and we help people with medical, mental health, and addiction care right where they are. Backpacks and wagons involved, and we just really try and break barriers. So we started, Dr. Shannon and I were connected via one of my students. We said, hey, you guys need to meet each other. Dr. Shannon's doing something cool and I want you to meet her. I was in Hawaii teaching for the summer and I met her via Zoom, and it was just all history after that. We were business partners or we were nonprofit partners via Zoom. I was like, I love what you're doing. I've been waiting for something to happen. I knew I would get into the space. I just didn't know what it would look like. And I didn't have some of the skills that Dr. Shannon has. And so when our two worlds collided, I mean, there was ADHD everywhere, but it's been beautiful. It's been so beautiful. And we really do just a little bit of everything, right? It's crisis triage on the streets. If you need connections, I like to tell people that we're the conduit in South Dakota or in Sioux Falls for care. So if you come to us and you need dental care, we're going to help you get to the dentist. If you come to us, you need addiction care, we might be able to start you with services in medicine, but we'll get you to an assessment. We'll get you to all the things that you need. Or at least we're going to do our best to get you there. And we have, in 18 months or whatever we've been kicking, we've amassed over 40 amazing volunteers that are just like there to do the work. They don't, they don't get the credit that they deserve because they're just amazing. And we're really reaching people. We're really helping people. And it fills my cup in ways that I don't even have words for. Like I never knew it could be this awesome.
I'm glad you mentioned the growth of Midwest Street Medicine too, and the attention it's been garnering, and well-deserved attention as well. Because one of the things that bothers me in regards to just like society or in general is people talk so much about problems. Like the news is really good about sensationalizing the problems. But to see Midwest Street Medicine continue to get more and more visibility, more and more capacity as it pertains to those volunteers who are showing up to do the work, that's a part of the solution. And I love that Midwest Street Medicine continues to get the visibility and the growth and capacity in that way. You guys celebrated getting some grants from some local foundations that helped out too, right? Some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And South Dakota is great. Like, and Sioux Falls particularly has been just like, what do you need? How can we help? Here's some things. Tell me what you need. How do we, even like large organizations reaching out and saying, what can we give you? What can we do for you? And that's what it takes, right? That's what it really takes for us to help people, because we're only as good as all of our people. If all of our people aren't healthy, we're not healthy. And I think people realize that.
So we're going to circle back some more to dive deeper into Midwest Street Medicine, but I want to go, before we go over to Hardie Arts, I want to go a little deeper too. When and where are the services happening? And then how can people get involved? Or if you want to talk about some of the things that would benefit the organization as far as needs you would have, what can people give to Midwest Street Medicine? Where could people meet up if they want to volunteer? And when is that outreach actually happening?
Yep. So you can go to midweststreetmedicine.org to our website and you can donate there. We also just started the Key program, which is super awesome, Unlocking Hope. If you donate over $50, you get a key that goes to you, but we take a key out to somebody who's experiencing homelessness as a sign of hope for them as well. You can set up to volunteer there. We kind of go through a bit of a rigmarole, right? Like you can't.
Nice word.
Can't just come and volunteer. We do need to put you through a little bit of training and make sure that it's safe for you to be out with people and where you have a skill that we can utilize. What were your other questions?
I think you nailed it. Oh, when does it happen? When are you doing your outreach on the
show? We are out Sundays and Mondays from 9 to noon. And then we have office hours that people can bust into. We're at UGM Women's.
Love it. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
You too. Hardie Arts. What is that about? I think it's a new venture in business, but art is not new to you. So how about share a little bit about how long you've been expressing yourself through the arts, and what do we need to know about Hardie Arts that we don't know?
Yeah, I started, creating art when I was in a car and didn't have anything else to do. Like, unlike the kids that have technology these days, on the way to grandparents' house, I just didn't have, I had a pen and paper and some illustrations that I just was able to draw on the way there. But it started in childhood. I never really got to explore much of my creativity aside from like I sawed my mailbox in half and, broke my dad's chair so I could try and fix it. But outside of that, I didn't really get into it in school until I was at Augustana. And I had a fun little route to get to a fine arts degree, but I started actually out as a nursing major and then transitioned into art. So I graduated Augustana in 2017 with a fine arts degree and actually a business entrepreneurship minor.
Nice.
And then from there, I, got a big girl job. I worked at Kello TV. I wasn't on air, but I was behind the scenes making a lot of other stuff happen. Transitioned to nonprofit work because I knew that's where my heart was in. And so worked at MB as our women's program manager there for a couple of years. And helped, organize and run the Dress for Success program. And then recently left there to start my art venture. And so I left there in December, just started doing my art business in January of this year. So still need to officially be an LLC. And there's been a lot of things that I've learned just in the short few months, but it's Hardie Arts is art, music, and events. So not only do I commission artwork, I do acrylics as far as 2D, I do paintings, drawings. I love 3D space, anything with wood, mirrors, glass. Those are really interesting and intriguing to me. And then also I do musical performances. So I play guitar, ukulele. I have my own setup. So I play acoustic covers and do performances. My most recent performance actually was yesterday at the T Retirement Living with 5 of their guests there. And that was really fun to play golden oldies for them.
Nice.
And then also events. So I love doing event consulting, which is really where my creativity shines through nonprofit work. And so with that, I've not only created pieces, so the Emily's Hope Art Show and Auction, I donate a piece of art to that every year, along with me being their volunteer coordinator. But then I also just love helping with events and making them successful. And so that's how I got connected with Midwest Street Medicine, and also just a love for the mission, the care, and everything you guys do. And so I wanted to, add to the value of Midwest Street Medicine by helping you with your fundraising event that you have going on.
Love that, which is a great segue to the event, and we'll get there. But I want to reverse first and go back to some more about Hardie Arts. And I want to say for the record, Courtney Hardie, you have become one of my favorite human beings to amplify, to introduce, to just talk about in such a short amount of time. Like you talk about, we met about a year ago, but I've seen you show up in such unique and creative ways. And I think that that's a gift and a strength. And art has a way of doing that. Like art, it can't be put in a box. Like if you try to define art, forget about it. There's so much to art that is art. And I've always had a deep affinity for artists. And so you're one of my favorite people to see take this thing called art and take it to music, take it to, what was the other thing? Art, music, and then events. Events. But just beyond just what you might think is typical art. Like the creative thinking that I've watched you do in partnership with other organizations, I think is really what sets you apart as an artist, and not just kind of the music and the kind of visual appeal things, which we'll talk a little bit about when you talk about some of these events. But I'm a fan. As a musician, I've seen you sing a few times, and so I just wanted to say that because I think it's art is super cool. I just think it's super cool. Okay, so
well, and using art, and I like to say using art for advocacy and my creativity for community. And so there's always a sprinkle in that. So I've worked with multiple nonprofits, either designing, creating, or strategizing for either an art piece, some sort of installment, or events. So
share a little bit about some of those. You mentioned Emily Hope. Share about other ways that you've used your art to help with advocacy. What other organizations have you worked with?
Sure. So I recently won a t-shirt competition for Sodak Compost.
There we go. Shout out to Sodak
It was
Compost.
cool. I thought.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sodak Compost.
Yeah. And then some other not nonprofits. I did a mural window painting at Swamp Daddy's for their Mardi Gras season. So
Mhm.
that was a big installment display. Did a graphic design logo for Dakota Craft Links. Both of those are in the Jones Seed building. And then we mentioned Emily's Hope. And then at MB, while I was there, I created a large side view of a abstract woman's face. And you can still see that on the back of the building where Dress for Success is.
Nice.
But we really amplified that during our Day of Giving a couple of years ago. So that got to be broadcasted on 11th Street.
Our Unlocking Hope Key, she created that.
Our Unlocking Hope Key, yep. Mm-hmm.
So
All over.
cool. I've just always had such an envy for artists because I am not good with my hands. And so, all the enthusiasm I have for your artists, because I can't do it. I don't paint well. I don't play any instruments. And so I just think it's so cool the way you express yourself in all those unique ways. Okay, let's jump into events. You guys have an event together. You heard of Courtney Hardie. Courtney Hardie heard of your organization. You guys got together and created, what is it called?
It's called Reality Check, a quest to escape the streets.
All right.
It's inviting community members who maybe don't have a complete or full understanding or just want to gain more knowledge of the homeless community in Sioux Falls.
Nice.
But it's an interactive way, it's an immersive way to do that, where it's not just, us presenting or anything. It's a fundraiser that mixes an escape room, a scavenger hunt, and a social awareness campaign all in one.
Jeez.
Where you're going to be
Creative.
Yeah, look at her creative.
Yeah,
walking around downtown, solving
Walking
clues,
fast.
getting clues, solving riddles, gaining points. And then we're starting at Remedy, ending at Remedy. And we've got we've got cash prizes for first, second, and third place winners. But the goal is to just increase that awareness, mainly that the homeless population, all of us were people just trying to get through what we call life, the struggle of life, and what that means for some people that maybe others in the community don't realize the hoops that other people have gone through, or the privilege that maybe they have.
Yeah, when I first heard you all were partnering and I started to hear a little bit about this program, what I appreciated about it is how it will help to drive up empathy for those who maybe don't share or have that lived experience. And as I'm even thinking out loud right now, there's not a lot of ways that this community can drive up that empathy. The Bishop Dudley Hospitality House have done their sleep out forever and what have you. And it's just was like, okay, and like, is that it? There's more to the life circumstances of the unhoused than just that one piece and component. And then it doesn't even truly compare to the reality of it, not even close. Right? So I really appreciate, another effort at driving up empathy for the unhoused in the community. And I think this will be something that can be done in a fun way with lots of different things that makes it attractive, competitive nature, points and prizes. You also are including celebrities. Do you want to talk anything about the celebrities that are also involved with
Oh,
it?
heck yeah. So shout out to all of our celebrities
Shout out
that'll
to
be
the celebrities.
that'll be joining us. Don Marie, Kaden Whitman, Patrick Gale, Angela Kennecke, Alana Snyder.
Nice.
And we'll be having all of those individuals and Nancy Halverson also included in our event. So the different clues will lead you to different locations, and there will be a celebrity at every location. So they'll be able to talk about who they are, what they do, and their involvement or their connection with Midwest Street Medicine and or the unhoused population. And so we have a lot of just really powerful people that'll be there explaining their involvement, just their connection to our mission, what they do, and then also providing a different perspective then too on their involvement with either the organization or with the homeless population.
Love it, love it. So before we sit back to you, Dr. Mo, when is this happening again, Courtney? When is it? How do people get their tickets? How much does it cost? Good about those details.
April 26th.
April 26th.
It's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
From 1 to 4.
1 to 4.
You can go to Midwest Street Medicine's website, midweststreetmedicine.org, and go underneath our events, and then you'll see the reality check, A Quest to Escape the Streets. You can also go on our Facebook page, on Midwest Street Medicine's Facebook, and there will be a pinned post that'll have the event. It'll be an event on Facebook where you can click and then also register. So we encourage teams of 4. You get a money discount if you are a team of 4. And so it's one person, 1 to 3 individuals. It's $25 per person per individual to sign up. Otherwise, if you do find a team of 4, then it's at that discounted price of $80. And the third prize winner gets $80. So you basically get paid back for your registration. And so you just have to get third place and you already made your money back. So, and there's no reason not to support. I mean, it's $25. It will be worth your time, and we'll be doing a lot of things that you won't have ever done before. And so it'll be a cool experience.
Such a win.
I'm excited.
Such a win. I love the partnership. I love your gift of creative thinking showing up in a unique way for another nonprofit, certainly worthy of the visibility and the attention. Dr. Mo, how does it feel to have that type of support? How do you feel about the event? What things do you want to just add to what Courtney said?
Yeah, I don't even think I have words for how grateful I am for everything Courtney's done. It's something that I know Diane really wanted to put together on our team, and like we had to have Courtney or it came to fruition. So we're so grateful. People, I think they don't understand that they can volunteer with what their skills are, right? Like this is a really unique and awesome way for her to be able to give back to people who are experiencing homelessness in a way that doesn't mean that she has to go out and, do healing in other ways, right? Like the healing can come in a lot of different ways. And I think that's super important. I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that, Courtney. Just showing how, anybody can get involved in a way that aligns with their strengths, like you just said. So that's wonderful.
Well, I want to thank you too, Dr. Mo, because I think it's really cool to be able to have this opportunity. And I've been given as a volunteer just like a lot of breathing room too, to just, hey, I just like did this, did that. If you're cool with it, cool. Otherwise, you
Yep,
can
we
change it.
trust you.
Yeah. So being able to just leverage my strengths in ways that benefit, other people, that's what I love doing. And I love that I get the autonomy then to like, hey, yeah, we love you, we trust you, let's go.
Absolutely. We would never minimalize your skills for
Well, part of what we do at Timely Table Talks is, amplify organizations that are helping with wraparound. We'll bring in survivors to share their story to help to combat stigma. But we'll also have open discussion around topics that when these are developed and enhanced, it will help professionals to be more effective and safe when working with vulnerable adults, youth and their families. And Courtney, you said something that reminds me of something that I enjoy sharing with people. And it's embracing other people's strengths and letting people lead through their strengths. It is actually the attribute and the quality of an exceptional leader. An exceptional leader will not get in the way of someone's strength. They will give them all the room they need to fully manifest the outcomes of their strengths. And Mo, you've done that with Courtney, and it shows in all the creativity that this event is happening.
Yeah,
so well done to both of you for that. So I love that. So let's jump back into Midwest Street Medicine, which is why we're here. When you and your team, your volunteers are out there on the streets doing outreach, providing first aid in all different type of ways, you're encountering a lot of different conditions, circumstances, mindsets, mind frames, stories. And, there's this bucket or this umbrella that we understand and maybe others don't. And it's a thing called public health, right? Let's start talking about how does this work of Midwest Street Medicine align with public health and just help to generally understand what is public health and why is it something that we should be paying attention to?
Right. So public health is all the things that encompass helping people who live in our communities, right? And so we hit the public health bucket in a few different ways, medical care being the big, strong one that we have, and trying to at least have a touch point for all the resources that they could need above and beyond just their medical care, right? Being homeless or experiencing homelessness is not just about not having medical care. It's a million different barriers that come into play, a million different things that have happened to people and a million different stories, right? So being able to address what they truly need and being able to be there for them. What we think they need, but rather ask them what they do need.
Right. And that's like you said, that's one component of public health. Public health has a lot of different things that contributes to it. I was actually just in class today, thrilled to have been recently approved to become a community health worker. So I'm going through this 8-week experience with one of our team members, and we were just talking about public health in class. And the teacher actually took us through what is called the socio-ecological model. And that's not something that's commonly understood by most. So how about we open that up a little bit, Dr. Mo? What is the socio-ecological model? See, look at her get excited. What is the socio-ecological model? And let's provide some general education on what exactly, why it's good to know.
Okay, so normally I have a visual, but
I know.
think of multiple circles expanding out, right? So that middle circle, the littlest, the macro level is you as a human, right? And then how all these other services and things impact you from your tight circle. So maybe your friends and family, your church, your school, your work, law enforcement, to like this bigger circle that is connected to it. And even further out, what are our laws? What are the community regulations and other things that kind of keep us in the circle? And how it kind of spans in and out, and how we can interact with each other, either positively or negatively, and how we can interact with those things. So think about it as how we navigate in time and space, but really from the micro to the macro level.
Yeah. So Google it so you can see the image, but you can also envision what it would be like throwing a pebble into a pond, right? And then the pebble's at the dead center, and then you got this ripple effect that goes all the way out, right? And at the dead center of the pebble is the individual, right? And so what are the conditions that's going on inside of the person and their well-being, their mindset, their abilities as it pertains to our public health? But then beyond that, what's the next layer? It's going to be my family, my peer group, the people I connect with directly. And then what's beyond that? Okay, my workplace. Why is that important? How is that important? It's very important. Right? We know that we spend more time at work than anywhere else. And so part of our work and that we want to do is to help employers understand how they contribute to public health. Okay, what's beyond that? Now we're getting into society, and now we're getting into community and our politicians, our legislators. So there is that social ecological model is like that pebble, you're the middle, and then a ripple effect, and it goes all the way up. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Maybe I should be an instructor.
Yes, you should. I guess you should apply for teaching position, right?
Okay, so
Check.
right. So jumping back into conversations about public health, we're talking about access to medical care. Crime, addiction, education. Are you all seeing those challenges as well when you're doing your outreach there with Midwest Street Medicine?
Yeah, I mean,
and in what ways do you try to support or navigate support in those areas?
We get a little bit into all those things and mental health concerns as well, right? And even approaches to reconnect people to culture if we can. So it's just a little bit of, it's navigating each piece and each person differently. And I think that's what makes us different is we go to the person and get them the help that they need and want. But it does look like everything. There's people getting arrested for essentially being homeless. And then how do we navigate that? And then there's, trips to the ER, trips to the link, trips to all the places. And how do we navigate that? And whether we feel like they were handled in a way that was helpful, and how do we move them to the next page? What does it look like to connect them to counseling centers to get them the services that they need and make sure they're not, stigmatized along the way. A lot of our advocacy work looks like not just going there, but going there with you and making sure that you have someone with you to do those things.
Love that. So that actually reminds me of a program we have at Hardie Life Coach Foundation called the Crisis Care Program. And I'm actually really looking forward to being more intentional about building some bridges between places like Midwest Street Medicine. I was just reading about South Dakota Urban Indians Health Outreach Program as well. WOKIA, thank you for that. We're just reading about that and thrilled to see that the city supported them with, I think, another $175,000 to help to support that outreach team of 2 individuals. Shouts out Nikki.
That's right.
I messaged her today. I said, I want you to come on the show. And, a part of it is I'm finding some personal fulfillment. I forgot that I spent quite a bit of time on the city's homeless advisory task force, being an advocate for organizations like South Dakota Urban Indian Health. Midwest Street Medicine wasn't around just yet, but we pushed for that. And I just love seeing that it has come to pass. and look forward to having Nikki on someday as well. But I want to build bridges there because we have a program at Hardie Life called Crisis Care, where if you are an individual who has been released from jail or prison within the last 60 months, we actually have a fund that we can access for you to help you to pay for any of your basic needs or emergent expenses. So when people are being released from jail or prison, as we're talking about public health, crime being one of those things, people need help reestablishing themselves, getting some stability about themselves. And we recognize that. I recognize it personally, but with all the hundreds of people we've supported in almost 5 years, we know that emergency expenses come up. And if we don't stand in the gap and provide support for people in a compassionate and dignified way, they will figure out how to accomplish getting that basic need.
Absolutely.
And they will recidivate. They will commit crime again. And it's not because they're a bad person. It's because their basic needs need to be met.
Absolutely.
And so I really enjoy always trying to educate on that and give perspective. One of the ways I do that is an example I learned in criminology class. I studied criminal justice at USD, and they said, imagine a single mom who steals diapers or formula for their baby. Right? That's a need. It's a basic need, and she's not wrong for going to do that in order to provide for her child. And so at Hardie Life, we don't want people stealing. Mm-hmm. We don't want people jumping in people's cars and trying to do those type of things. So we have that fund that you can request up to $150 to take care of basic needs, hygienes. People get jobs. They may need supplies or resources to get that job. And that's very fulfilling work. And we go with them as well. So we don't just hand them the money or whatnot. We go with them. We spend that windshield time with them. We coach them. We address some of the mental health barriers that they're having, because that's another big piece of public health. And what I want to talk about is mental health. Mm-hmm. So let's open that up a little bit about mental health and what type of mental health challenges or issues are we seeing when working with the Unhoused?
So I think the big thing that I say is like to remember that perception is reality. It's the people's perception is their reality. And so I don't know what it's like per se to walk through somebody's shoes, right? But the only thing I do know is when that gets too far off balance, then I might say, hey, we need to go and talk to somebody else. Is it time for us to, make an appointment down the street with the mental health organization? Or are you struggling with mental health disorders? And just being able to be blunt, right? Like I also have struggled before, and I'm not here judging you. Mm-hmm. I'm just asking you if you need some assistance and getting them the care that they need. Schizophrenia is a difficult thing to deal with and often drives people, unfortunately, to homelessness. Mm-hmm. So we do see a fair amount of that, but we've had some really good returns on getting people the medications that they need to help glue the parts of their brain to make it smoother, as the doctor said, and be able to see them succeed quite a bit, right? Once you have your biological needs met, sometimes that looks like medication. People can really succeed and do amazing things. So giving them that second chance, because they're not broken. They just might need something to put the glue in there.
Love that. Love that. I love that you're a proponent too for medicated assisted treatment as well. Harm reduction is another thing that's pretty nuanced and research based. Absolutely. So Courtney, you've partnered with this organization because I'm sure what they do aligns with your own personal values and things you believe in. So as we're talking about mental health, what would you add to this discussion about the importance of mental health, some of the things that because I'll just say it this way. I know I have my own challenges and struggles, right, with mental health. And I think that the more we can open up and be transparent about our own challenges and the things that we've addressed and gone through, we can really humanize the conversation about mental health. What are your thoughts on mental health and the importance of it?
I've definitely gone through the rigmarole, that's for sure. I mean, from multiple unhealthy coping mechanisms. Where I found solace was being on antidepressants, being on medication, and also doing cognitive behavioral therapy. Mm-hmm. So shout out to my therapist, Kim.
Yeah, Courtney loves shouting out that therapist. That's one thing she did. I want to tell people I'm on my way to my therapy appointment. My therapist is awesome. And I love that you do that. And we wanted to make sure that we are making sure people know that it's cool to get mental health support in that special way. Go ahead, please continue.
Yeah, and so just recently, her and I decided that it would be in my best interest to try to abstain from alcohol, whether that's forever or just one day at a time or for a certain amount of time, only time will tell. And so Dr. Mo actually commented when I had made a public post saying that I needed help with accountability to make sure that, I do stay abstinent from alcohol. And she had suggested her 66-day alcohol reset book. And so just recently I purchased the book that night, and I'm on day 9. Day 9 of no alcohol right now, and just making sure to journal my experience and the process or the path of how I go through and handle the alcohol reset. And so I think it'll be a really cool resource. And Terry was showing me the other day, he's like, she did videos in Hawaii of every day of this alcohol reset.
They're terrible.
And he was like, no, they were great. And so I was like, he's like, here's 1, here's 2. I was like, are we going through all 66 right now?
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, definitely had my struggles, but.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your transparency in that, because I believe that example is where leadership begins, and inspiration is a part of what helps in leadership. And so thank you for humanizing that so well. Shouts out to Eric Weber. He's saying to Dr. Mo, he said, let's go, Dr. Mo.
What up?
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Eric, for your space.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, how inclusive he is in that way. Yeah, mental health is real. And we all have our journey with it. And I just think it's so important that we continue to open up discussions about it. And when you really crystallize mental health, we are really talking about people's emotional well-being. There's spectrums on that, on how far that can get down there, but we're talking about sadness. We're talking about depression. We're talking about anxiety. We're talking about insecurity. Who doesn't feel insecure from time to time? We all feel insecure from time to time. We all struggle with, am I worthy? Am I doing enough? Am I valued? And this is the same type of messaging that is going on in the minds of the unhoused when you're doing your support, but that's all of us. We're all going through that. And I just think it's so important that we just are first honest about that. Humble in our openness to go and seek help. In whatever level of care that looks like. I really get a lot of help in my mental health from friends, healthy peer groups. I go to Faith It Together Sioux Falls every week for my peer recovery coaching as well. And I'm honest about my feelings and my emotions. And I just think that that's so important that we continue to lift that up and encourage others to do the same.
Yeah, I feel like if we go to the gym for our physical health, we also need to go to the therapist for our mental health.
Oh, you're gonna get me fired up.
Shout out to Robin.
Shout out to Robin. That's so good. See, that gets me fired up too, because there is nothing more valuable than our mind, right? I mean, our mind is our most valuable asset that we have. And we will put so much time, money, and energy into the other assets in our lives, whether that's our body, whether that's our cars, whether that's your lawn care. And I'm like, when I'm coaching people sometimes, and I'm like, you'll pay somebody to come and tend your lawn, and you'll pay them like, thank you for the lawn care. You'll take your car to a mechanic and you'll pay them and say, thank you for the car care. But you're going to hesitate
Get cheap on your mental health.
to have someone address your mental health care. Get it together. Let's get our priorities together, and let's lean into mental health care and all the different ways that we can support our mental health. Actually, so I was talking to you, Mo, about some work that you do in kind of mindfulness, right? And breath work, and massage therapists and some of those things, right? So helping people in their mental health is more than just like medicine, medication. Mm-hmm. You can use nature. You can use breath. Talk a little bit about that and how that helps with mental health.
I just did a circle talk today, and we did that, right? Like, instead of me starting and having this big conversation, we decided that we wanted to find ourselves in that space first. And so we did a meditation together. I walked them through a guided meditation so that, selfishly, to be honest with you, so they were in my time and space, right? So I could have them present with me for my talk. And that way our, circle talk could be something that was impactful for them and they weren't thinking about other things, right? But also for them to be able to be in the moment, to be in the minute, to take a check into our body. When's the last time today that you listened to your body? If you were in pain, you're like, oh, I really need to get up and walk. I need to do these things, but I also need to answer 50 more emails. So I'm just going to sit here. My legs went numb this morning in my chair in my office, right? Like to be able to just remember to be present and take a breath and be in those moments. And I think Dr. Shannon was talking to me yesterday or the day before about, burnout isn't just burnout. Sometimes it's a moral injury, right? When we're in these fields where we're working with people that the systemic barriers really get in our ways. And so I think it's important for us to understand what burnout looks like, what moral injury looks like, what care looks like, what self-care looks like, because those are all different, right?
Yes.
Some of our self-care is like, you should get a massage every month. Cool. No, that's care. Like if you live a high fast-paced life and you do whatever, you might need that just for care, not for self-care, right? So figuring out kind of where do things fit in those different buckets and how can we take care of ourselves? What does going outside and getting grounded look like? If I get overwhelmed, I go outside, I kick my shoes off, I don't care what degree it is, and I hang out for a little bit, right? And I think that's why I'm so happy in Hawaii, because I never have shoes on and I'm never indoors.
Yeah, I love that. I love that hippie in you.
There's a lot of it.
There's a little hippie in me too. I actually do the exact same thing, and I'm so grateful to like friends and guides like you who have come into my life and introduced me to other ways for medicine. And so in fact, at our next men's group that we're having, with my graphics a little high today, my bad. You can't see it in my shot. Look over here. But at the Impossible men's group that we just started in January, that is absolutely accelerated and exploded in regards to people showing up, men particularly for this group, to get support for what is the social conditioning that boys and men carry on their shoulders of what it is to be a man. So many humans, but again, men are suffering in isolation. They are struggling with their mental health. They're struggling in their family lives. They're struggling in their lifestyle choices. And they don't feel like there's a place where they can go and be safe to unload that. That has now changed with the Impossible Mondays men's group. We meet on the first and third Monday at Windy City Bites. We've been doing this since January. We would average about 6 to 10 people who show up to have a discussion with us around a topic that starts with the letter M. Our last group, we had an explosion of support and had 21 people in the room.
I just love it.
So fired up. And knowing that that is just a cue for how much need is there, and also the opportunity to help sponsor and support the scaling of the Impossible program, which I'm really feeling optimistic about some support that's beginning to come in for that, and some of the ways we're going to partner with other places to go through these topics. What are we talking about at Impossible? We started with mission. After we did mission, we did mindset and mentality. After mindset and mentality, we did money and motivation. After money and motivation, we did mentorship and masterminds. And guess what's coming up next? Mental health and medicine. And so I am so eager to talk to those men about the hippie stuff that I do to help me with my mental health. When I'm feeling anxiety, when I'm feeling sorrow, depression, all these emotions, take my shoes off, go outside, get my feet in the ground, and actually practice grounding. And so I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to kind of lift up that activity of grounding ourselves as a part of how we also can help to grow in our mental health. In that vein, Mo, do you all do some of that when you're out with the Unhoused? I mean, I know you're providing some of that care when it comes to like they may be injured, and so you're wrapping them with gauze, right? Is that right? Gauze and stuff.
Not medical.
Band-aids, water, things like that. But I also, in that article that was written today about the other outreach group, she talked about a smudging that they did and helped to de-escalate the situation. But are you all seeing some of that type of activity as well? Are you helping people to ground? Are you doing any breath work with people when you're out there too? How does that show up?
So it does look like a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Cultural care and spiritual care looks different for just everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there are needs or asks, I mean, we do have smudge kits as well that
Nice.
our cultural leaders will use and utilize. And yeah, we are totally there for that. We do a lot of praying. There's a lot of praying on the streets, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That's good. Spirituality, also a part of our mental health care as well. So I love hearing that. Courtney, you brought up a good reality in your life with the alcohol reset. Addiction is something we care about. I heard a life coach as well, or recovery. people that have a relationship with various substances, whether it's healthy, unhealthy, problematic, or unproblematic. The reality is, the issue is not the substance, the issue is the pain. That's what Dr. Gabor Mate will tell you about addiction. But what a cool thing to see another young professional step into a life of abstinence away from alcohol, or if you will. So I just wanted to maybe open up a discussion about addiction and recovery now and talk about, obviously we see that when we're working with the unhoused as well. We see it when we're working with the justice impacted. But let's just open up that discussion a little bit about how prevalent it is and maybe some pathways forward to getting healthier with our relationship with substances.
I think you.
I'm like, I'll talk all day about this.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of depends. Something that I have been telling people that I think kind of slaps a little bit different is like, when we think about addiction, I want you to think about dis-ease in the brain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not disease, because sometimes people get stuck on that, but dis-ease.
Mm-hmm.
So why are people utilizing substances? What does it look like? There's not ease,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it starts out maybe as a coping mechanism, or it turns into a poor coping mechanism. And then if you have genetic precursors for addiction and the environmental space, it can turn into what addiction looks like, right? And then I want you to think about that again. We'll go to the disease model. It really is disordered dopamine, right? So we have this cascade in our brain that drops dopamine, and most people does what it's supposed to, right? But then there's the extra special few, myself included, where the dopamine just doesn't work correctly, and we can't get the button to get pressed enough, right? And so I may do things that feel good to excess because I don't get the dopamine that I think I need or my brain thinks it needs.
Mm-hmm.
But there's really easy ways for us to get cheating dopamine, right, on our phones, or the little notifications really are a wonderful dopamine, but it's cheating dopamine, right? It's just a cheater.
Mm-hmm.
So we need things like exercise and movement and meditation and mindfulness and things like that is where the real dopamine comes from. But I think when you can understand addiction as being something that our brain just works differently,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to understand what addiction truly looks like. I'm going to take a breath. Thoughts?
Good. Well, I'm just excited for having you here to educate on the general audience on something that might be a mystery to them.
Right.
I think when people are really honest about their relationship with certain these substances, they do realize that my relationship with these things could be different or better or healthier. And we are actually partnering on a new initiative within Hurdle Life to help to actually bring this same type of education into the workplace. So I'm just thinking about the excitement I'm going to have in our partnership as we're going to be approaching corporations and helping them to educate their workforce on having a healthier relationship with alcohol. And we already got a really big customer, future client on the hook who's all fired up about what we have to say. So I'm just thinking about that Get Alcohol Smart program and get fired up a little bit.
Love it.
So
Love it.
that feels really good. Good. So thoughts from you, Courtney. We're talking about a lot. How does this land? How does it feel? What do you want to?
It's awesome to be able to be in a space and talk from a different point of view, or just have different opportunities to be able to share the joy, the enthusiasm, the commitment to, helping other people. And so it's neat. I was talking to Dr. Mo at the beginning of before we started, and I was like, we've never done anything like this together. This is our first time we've ever done something like this. And so just continuing to develop those relationships, continuing to learn when I'm able, and just growing and trying to be not a better version of me, because that's not, I don't know how I like that term, but just to be do the best I can and take it one step at a time. And I think that's huge for me right now in the path that I'm going. I'm really excited to be able to continue to see how this fundraiser ends up, continue my involvement with Midwest Street Medicine and see other areas that I can be helpful and just fill that need. And then also, same with your nonprofit, to be able to continue to mentor those boys and watch them grow, watch them graduate high school and really celebrate those wins.
Yeah. And again, here you are embodying another one of the key principles that I harp on every chance I get, because when this is magnified in our communities, will have more of this, and it's called humility. Having the posture of I'm here to learn. Knowing when you are around people who have valuable expertise that you don't carry, no fault of your own, but just a clear acknowledgement that I can learn from the people around me. And Courtney, you do that so well. And I try to get others to do the same. Humility sometimes is a struggle for people. You know, it's often, as much as we think we have it dialed in, because people will define humility as being meek and soft-spoken and not bragging of yourself. That's not the type of humility I'm talking about. I'm talking about as you are, as a community, trying to help to either solve homelessness or addiction or crime, but you're not leaning into the true experts in that space, which are the people with the lived experiences with those issues and challenges, and then have made their way to stability, made their way to thriving. Those are the people you need to be listening to. And I know that we harp on that often about the power of peer support and lived experiences. What are some thoughts you want to say about that as we're getting close to wrapping up here?
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And I love to hear people going through, of course, the alcohol reset, which is great. But I also just love to hear people like being that version of themselves that they want to be and trying it out, right? Like, you don't have to stay abstinent forever if you don't want to, but it's so cool that you're going through the process of being able to say, what role does alcohol have in my life? Because alcohol societally is something that we're like, woohoo, you had a baby, let's drink. You got married, let's drink. You made it through the week, let's drink. Like, and it's so hard to like pick from where it is something that's a celebration to something that becomes an everyday is a celebration. And so I love when people can just take a break and like just examine the role that it played and kind of take out that societal piece of like, no, because alcohol is cool until it's not cool anymore. And then it's just really not cool. And then you're stigmatized because you drink too much. Well, what did you expect, you know? So I love to see and hear. And I think that you'll see the bonuses, right? Like, I feel like in my 14 years now of being abstinent, like I've seen all the bonuses and all the places where that would have just held me back and things would have been slower when I was taking hangover time or not feeling good or spending time drinking. So I think you're going to rock it. You already do. So it's going to be pretty cool to watch. And I'm glad I get to take a front row seat.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so then adding to that, like the power of peer support, lived experience, and leaning into those individuals as leaders. What are your thoughts on that piece?
Yeah, I couldn't be more in agreement, right? Like, I feel like I work with this company. I'm part of this company that really is lifting up lived experience voices to be able to help with innovations in the substance use disorder space. How do you expect as a company,
we're here for this,
to be able to create something for people who struggle with alcohol use disorder, substance use disorder, addictions, if you don't have somebody with one of those things helping you navigate, or multiple people's voices to help you navigate that? How can you do it best? And who does things better? Who innovates better than somebody who's been gritty, who's been there, that's done that made it through? I have nothing but respect for people who have stopped using a substance, whether that is soda or nicotine or whatever it looks like, and made it on the other side, because that shows your grit, your determination, your perseverance. And those are qualities that I want to be around every day, all day.
Love that. So we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago about an organization called Smart Recovery, and we talked about recovery. So there's a lot of different pathways to get some support in your recovery from whatever your hang up or hold up or habit might be. So look for those, go back, check out that episode, and lean into a life in recovery, which is just this time lapse after a major accident, incident, or occurrence is how we define that part of life. And so I also am thrilled about your 9 days into your reset, and we got other friends that are doing
Court NA. So Court NA is my nickname.
Just love it. So as we wrap up this discussion, which has been so robust, and I really hope that the audience, and I can tell, are appreciating what we have to say, I want to shout out a couple organizations that are doing really good work in the space of supporting homeless and houseless individuals. Here locally, we have the Veterans Project that they got some money behind and are doing some good work over there. So just don't want to be here and not acknowledge some of the good work that's already been done locally in that space. There's much more work to be done, which is why we can be content with where we're at. We didn't come this far only just to come this far. So we need to keep on leaning in to those type of resources. But shouts out to that that Veterans Project and the work there. The shirt I'm wearing today is from an organization in Utah called The Other Side Village. And then there's a great organization out there called The Other Side Academy that I just model a lot of my work after because of how well they work with the formerly incarcerated, the formerly houseless and homeless, and they build these men and women up to be dynamic doers and difference makers. And so the Other Side Academy has been succeeding in that space through a therapeutic community model for over 5 years. They've duplicated the model and have a satellite in Denver as well, but took that same philosophy of therapeutic community and took it to the homeless. And now they have their own village out in Salt Lake called the Other Side Village. And so shouts out to Dave DeRocher and Tim Stay and Joseph Grenny as mentors and inspirations to us at Hardie Life here in Sioux Falls. So a couple other things I want to pick your brain on really quick and we'll get you all fired up before we get up out of
I've been
here.
doing so good.
But, you know, because when I was on the Homeless Advisory Task Force, and I too have been homeless as a 10-year-old boy. My mother left her unhealthy relationship and took me and 4 of my siblings to a women's and children's shelter for 90 days. And so I know what it's like to be a 10-year-old boy living in a homeless shelter, going to school with just all of that uncertainty as a 10-year-old. So I really have a deep appreciation for those family support services. The Bishop Dudley has recently expanded their family support, which I'm thrilled about. The Union Gospel Mission upstairs on their 3rd floor expanded their support, which I'm thrilled about as well. So I have some lived experience as a youth being homeless, and then even as an adult, a couple of years after my release, which actually in about 7 days, maybe, it'll be 9 full years since I was released from federal prison. And it's actually just so humbling to see how much can happen with humility, with honesty, with positive peer support, with learning new ways to cope with the stress and the anxiety and the feelings that we all have as human beings. And that 9 years down the road, I'm going to be graduating Leadership South Dakota and some of those things like that. So it is very possible. And I'm not here because of only myself. There's a piece of me that matters, that grit, that determination, that ambition. But the wraparound support, I praise and will sing for the rest of my life, the mentorship and stuff that have helped me get 9 years down the road. But so I have some lived experience as a youth and as an adult. But I remember in that space, 2 things I want you to just speak to, and then we'll land. Housing first as a potential solution, a step in the right direction for our unhoused and homeless population. And then also, I want to give a little space to the concept of harm reduction. Walk through both of those doors for us really quick.
So housing first is very much the model that people use in places where homelessness is not as great of an issue, right? If we give people their basic needs and help them get a place to feel safe and be safe, they will be able to do the things that we expect from them in society, right? They will be able to have more of the tools that it takes. Now, it's not just giving someone a house. We would also give them care and compassion and walk those steps with them, right? Some sort of supports, because sometimes that's what it takes. You know, if you've been unhoused for 20 years, it's pretty difficult to figure out how to do all the things in society again. So they not only do they need a place to live, but they also need some of that care, some of that showing them how to navigate the systems again. And it's extremely important. And honestly, it's one of the only things that does work.
Wow.
So I'm not going to say it's the solution, but it's the solution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we've got a model for that here. And it's perplexing why we haven't expanded it. In fact, it's disappointing. And typically, again, I try not to get too firm in positions and overly opinionated, but there are certain places where I'm going to stand. And I'm going to stand hard. And I don't understand, or I get complexed with how much development we can do in the city of Sioux Falls, build all these other structures and things for all types of people and their quality of life, and not invest more money into housing first initiatives that will truly help to move us further down the road as it pertains to providing care to this challenge that we're seeing in our homeless and our unhoused. So there is much more room for improvement in that area, and we should have more housing first initiatives, 100%. And our leaders need to step up and make that happen.
Yep.
Harm reduction.
Love it.
What is it?
Harm reduction is a set of common sense principles to keep people safe.
Dave jumped in with the get alcohol this morning. He caught us.
It's just things that we use every day to keep us safe, right? Sunscreen, seatbelts, vaccines, all things harm reduction. But harm reduction in terms of addiction maybe looks like clean needles or fentanyl testing strips or Narcan or different things that we wouldn't always think about as being harm reduction. But what we really want to do is take the harm down a level until people can get the care that they need. So that may look like going from using needles to smoking and having these good interactions with people. It's not just about getting clean needles. It's also about having good interactions. People are 5 times more likely to actually get into some sort of recovery if they have these types of interactions with people who utilize harm reduction strategies.
Yeah, and I love the practical examples of how we're already doing harm reduction and how we bought into that. And if we can just stretch that into the world of addiction and recovery with less judgment, we would also see prevention and a reduction of things that we want to see less of.
Harm reduction is prevention.
Harm reduction is
Prevention of harm.
So there's a concept called a dose response relationship, which means, the greater the dose of something, the more outcome you would get out of it, if you will. And so this principle of harm reduction is just saying if we can get people to do less of something that's harmful, we're reducing the amount of stress in their life, the amount of use in their life, because it can be dangerous, even lethal, to hard stop something.
Absolutely.
And just cut it, something that's on, just cut it off. That can be lethal. And so having a compassion and an understanding of harm reduction, which is saying we're going to just reduce the use, and thereby that's a healthier outcome for the public health and overall in general.
Absolutely.
And so big proponent of harm reduction as well. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, closing thoughts, comments, and remarks. Courtney, we're going to bring it back to you. Me and Dr. Mo have been geeking out. You've been in over here too.
All good. I'm chilling.
Oh yeah, no, that
Just listening.
it happens, and we want to present spaces where people are learning, people are contributing, and things in that way. And so, just thank you for being here, bringing your unique self as well with the creative thinking. But what are your final thoughts about the event? Maybe we talk about the event one more time, encourage people to do that, or just any final remarks.
No, I guess final remarks. Definitely check out Midwest Street Medicine, check out our events. It'll be something, like we had said and stated, that it will be new and unique to Sioux Falls, and it'll help you gain better understanding of just the people and the community around you. And also a big thing of people first. So understand that, when we don't like to refer to people as addicts, as users, as alcoholics.
Good call out.
That it should be to lead with person first is to lead with empathy, and to understand that there is a person and a human being that has, so as a result, I am a person with these things. And so just to stress that, to be able to create that empathy too. And if you ever want a commission piece or music performance, Hardie Arts, let's go.
Love that. Love that. Mo, I was going to give you some final thoughts, but I forgot. I never queued up the do's and don'ts I wanted you to share. How about we end with some of that? What are some of the do's and don'ts? All right, because we do see, visibly our unhoused, and sometimes we don't even know how to behave. Right. Some people don't even know how to behave. If you want to just end with what are some common do's and don'ts for the general public as it pertains to encountering and working with the unhoused?
Okay, perfect. So I'm not going to swear. No, I'm just kidding. I made it this far. So things to do are see the unseen.
Yeah.
Make sure that you are seeing the people who often don't get seen. I mean, could you imagine walking down the street, having 100 people walk past you in one day and not being seen?
No one telling you hello.
No one telling you hi. No one telling you hello. Looking past you. that comes from a place of scared, right? Our
Mhm.
Neanderthal brain tells us that we're scared of things we don't understand, or we're scared of things that could be a potential harm or something. We feel like we could be in that position, right? And that's why we tend to not lean in and give help. But you don't have to give people money who are experiencing homelessness. You can give them a handshake, a high five, a hug, whatever is authentic to you.
Yes.
You can ask them if they need resources. You can just tell them hello. It doesn't have to be anything more than that, but just, I beg you to see the unseen.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So I've, again, been doing work alongside of Dr. Mo, Courtney, Jordan Deffenbaugh, their work and their efforts. And I remember last summer participating on a street program called Citizen Taco. And it was simply just having tacos with people. And they gave the community an opportunity every week to just come and have a meal. And in that time, I realized what was happening in the form of medicine is what I like to call a dignity dose.
Yeah.
Just give people a dose of dignity.
Yeah.
See the unseen, say hello, ask them how you're doing, treat them like you would want to be treated, and it would go so much further. And so for me, if I was so down and out that I felt like my best effort to take care of me would be asking somebody for money, I would want someone to give it to me. So I'm the type of person that if it's in my pocket, you can have it. The $2 just gives you much more dignity or whatever than it would for me. And so you can't convince me not to, because if I was in that position and I opened up and asked my mom, I would want someone to do it for me. So you don't have to, that's just me. But I think that a dignity dose goes a long way. So thank you for that. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Nailed it.
Table Talks with Terry, timely Table Talks with Terry, man. We got busy. We talked about a whole bunch. Courtney, I'm wondering maybe if you want to come back and visit us next week. I have Saul Dilla here, and he's going to be talking poetry. And I'm inviting James First Gen as well, who is into arts and fashion. So maybe if it works for you, you can join that panel next week, because we're going to be talking more of the arts, and maybe there could be more that you would have to say or share. Something for you to consider.
All right.
Is that a commitment?
No.
Oh, second. I'll be working on it. If you are interested in coming on a timely table talk, if you think there's an organization that is worth amplifying and highlighting, and a survivor who wants to share their story, or someone who wants to have an open discussion with me about leadership, communication, empathy, justice administration, and trauma-informed care, I'm looking for more guests to join me here on Timely Table Talk. So next week, my brother Saul Dibba is going to be here. James First Gen hasn't committed yet, but I'm going to bring him in here too for sure. And then maybe even Courtney Hardie will be back. We'll see.
I don't want to take up, too much space. So
I want
might
you
be
to take
sitting
up
in
a
the corner.
bunch of space because you're good for the world. All right, we're heading out. Peace. We'll see you next week.